Another year, another WWDC from Apple. The company announced new software for its mobile, desktop, and watch products, and even introduced a new music streaming service. But if you're an investor, you may have missed a golden opportunity. Every year on WWDC Day, Apple stock drops. So why isn't everybody buying Apple with these underwhelming new announcements? Dan Ives is managing director at FBR Capital Markets with us from San Francisco. Dan, at one point, Apple was down 1.41% yesterday. I went back to 2005. Every single year on WWDC, Apple stock drops. Is that the golden buying opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen these knee-jerk reactions basically every year. I think some of it is a sell on the news, but ultimately, when you look out in terms of this iPhone 6 product cycle, China, which is high-octane fuel in Apple's engine, we really believe they are on the precipice of really seeing major growth opportunities for the second half into next year, especially some of the products they're announcing. We look at things like the watch, Apple Pay, potential augmented reality. And the streaming music, we believe, is the tip of the iceberg. Ultimately, we believe a streaming TV service and then an all, one-stop shop type of console that comes out in 2016.
But we heard so little. I mean, we heard nothing about TV.
And that was intentional. I mean, at this point, they're still ironing out some of those agreements with, content, with the broadcasters. There were thoughts that they were going to do that. Up to about 3 weeks ago, most expectations, and even internally at Apple, that they could announce something. They couldn't get there from a timing perspective. Now it's about later this year, in the fall, early 2016. These streaming services, you take a step back, they're not financially moving the needle, but it strategically shows how they're heading from a software perspective, skating where the puck's going, and they're putting in really a moat around their iTunes franchise, which is key, especially with guys like Spotify out there.
This is Ron Kraszewski. What did you think of Apple Music vis-a-vis Pandora? Their announcement on Apple Music.
I mean, I sort of view this that when you think about streaming music and you think about the competitors out there, at this point it's really more of a defensive move for Apple, but it speaks about that $3 billion Beats acquisition. They needed to do this. If you see where a lot of consumers are going more to streaming, and this is something that Apple could not miss out on. I would say, maybe a little late here, but ultimately I think now you're going to see a lot of adoption from consumers here, and it's the tip of the iceberg when we think about streaming. This is really the appetizer, the meat and potatoes streaming TV.
Dan, we ran out of time. Great having you from San Francisco. That's Dan Ives of FBR Capital.